I'm just gonna come out and say it because I don't know how else to begin this video. Watching a movie is weird. I know you're probably thinking,
Jameson, what do you mean movies are weird? Everyone loves movies.
and to that I say, movies are normal in our society, but that doesn't mean that they aren't weird. This video will discuss how humans have always liked stories, and how movies became a normal form of storytelling, even if the way we experience movies is different from how we live our real lives. Before we get into that, let's talk about how weird movies are for a second. While living your life, you see what's going on in front of you, and that's it. This is all you see. To see something different in real life, you physically have to transport yourself from one location to another. Because in real life, if you don't move, you're staring at the same thing. In movies, camera angles change every few seconds. However, if you're watching that same conversation in real life, you'd be watching from a fixed point. But in real life, if you wanted to watch a conversation and make it look like a movie, you'd have to move. I want to show you, but I can't right here. I have to move the camera back. Hold on one sec. Hold on. We're moving now. Excuse me. Okay. Person one standing here, person two standing here. You'd have to go over here, physically move yourself over here, physically move yourself over here. And I can guarantee you that if these two people are having a conversation, they will no longer be having a conversation because you are moving around so much that it is weird. Bad weird. Then there's the whole weird thing that when you watch a movie, music plays while people talk. In real life, when somebody's saying something interesting, there's no disembodied orchestra playing behind them, is there? That would be unrealistic. That would never happen. We've established movies are weird. So how did this become a normal form of storytelling? Part 1. The history of stories. Humans have told stories since the dawn of time. The literal human dawn of time. And that early storytelling led to movies. The earliest of stories were told through oral tradition. With oral tradition, ideas, culture, and art were transmitted vocally through speech. Ancient oral tradition led to written communication because I assume it was annoying to repeat the same things over and over vocally. Like if you were a caveman and you didn't want to tell your child the same story over and over every single night, what do? You say, I wrote this story out on the cave wall over there, so I don't have to tell you. Have a good night. They didn't have words written out in the caveman days. The first recorded stories are 30,000-ish years old. Found in the Chauvet caves of France. Chauvet. I can't pronounce. Chauvet. Found in the Chauvet caves of France. Paintings in the caves detailed animals, survival themes, and whatever else was important to the cave people. I don't know what was important to the cave people. Contrary to popular belief, I am not a caveman. While researching for this video, I kept imagining the cave scene from Spaceship Earth. You know, the part where they discuss exactly what I'm talking about? That's the root of why people love movies. Oral tradition transformed into written communication, which originated about 9,000 years ago. Written language was eventually standardized by the Phoenicians, which allowed different cultures to communicate through the written word. Remember how easy it was to learn your ABCs? Thank the Phoenicians. They invented them. Did anybody get that reference? And now, thanks in part to the foundation of written language set in motion by the Phoenicians, stories are told in a variety of ways. Movies, books, your friend calling to tell you how much she loved the Phoenician scene from Spaceship Earth, where that quote was from. In modern society, stories are very important. Of the average time that adults are awake, 6% of the time is spent thinking about fictional stories. 6%! And that does not include the fictional story of your boss expecting that report by 5, because there's no way that's gonna happen. That's a fictional deadline. Hello, boss? Yes, I'll have that on your desk by 4:30. Language and communication has aided in people telling stories. But we have to ask ourselves, why does anybody tell stories at all? Part 2, emotions. When you're watching a movie, you know it's not real, but our brains don't know that. Not at first, anyway. Let me explain. Long story short, your brain thinks the movie you're watching is real, but your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that deals with decision-making and self-control, reminds you that, hey, maybe this isn't real. Maybe I'm not being chased by a monster in the woods right now, and maybe I'm actually sitting on my couch in Milwaukee. I don't know why Milwaukee popped into my head for this example. What's interesting about the prefrontal cortex? That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. People with weaker prefrontal cortexes act more as if movies are real, rather than individuals with a stronger prefrontal cortex. Toddlers, for example, might act like whatever's happening on screen is happening in real life, to an extent, because they have a weaker, developing prefrontal cortex. Like if you're watching a movie with a toddler and something scary happens on screen, they might hide and scream. And you, who has a stronger prefrontal cortex, well actually, I don't know about some of you, because I've read some of the hate comments he left me, and I'm not so sure about some of your prefrontal cortexes. You know what I'm saying? Well, I assume you have a stronger prefrontal cortex than a toddler, but that's setting the bar dangerously low, but maybe some of you. Maybe you don't. You might flinch during the scary part of a movie, whereas the toddler you're watching the movie with is hiding under a blanket. Because to them, the scary movie seems more real because their weak prefrontal cortex is less able to sort it out. Which, in this scenario, what movie are you watching with the toddler? I'm not impressed with you right now. Great, this is your fault. You should have just watched Frozen. So movies make us feel things. We're emotionally invested in them, but our prefrontal cortexes allow us to remember that what we're seeing is actually fake. That being said, you're only going to be emotionally invested in movies if they interest you. If you see something you don't care about, you're just not going to care. In order for us to feel anything at all, we have to enjoy what we're seeing. And once that's true, we can experience narrative transportation. Part 3, narrative transportation theory. Narrative transportation theory is the theory that a story can transport you in a way. Our minds kind of go somewhere else during stories. Like right now, I'm thinking about Spaceship Earth. I'm actually not thinking about Spaceship Earth, I'm thinking about recording this video. I do want to emphasize that narrative transportation theory is a theory. This particular subject doesn't have a defined, this is how it works kind of thing. But narrative transportation theory seems to be the most accepted theory on this subject. Anyway, while watching this video, you may have experienced narrative transportation. You may have kind of forgotten about your life and become engrossed in the video. I don't know what this was. Stories, regardless of how they're told, can cause chemical reactions in our brains. As you experience a story, your brain's prefrontal cortex places the story in your short-term memory. A different part of your brain, the amygdala, is in charge of emotions and long-term memory. As the story enters the amygdala, it is coded with emotions you felt during that story. I think this is why years later, you can remember how you felt about a movie, even if you can't remember the specific plot details or anything. A combination of 3 brain chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins help you feel connected to a story. So essentially, we feel the effects of dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin as the story becomes engrossed in our long-term memory, wrapped up in emotions, not blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. The point is, experiencing a story causes chemical reactions in our brain, which makes us feel some sort of way. And I say some sort of way because you can feel any sort of way, like sad, happy, bored, whatever. If you are enjoying this video, please give this video a like. Unless you're not enjoying the video, in which case, why are you here? Just dislike the video and leave, hater. I'm kidding. Don't leave me. Narrative transportation relies on 3 main factors: processing, empathy and mental imagery, then loss of reality. I'm looking in the viewfinder and my face is really red. I'm on an acne medicine, which makes my face red. Just whatever. Let's expand on these 3 factors. You have to process a story, because if you aren't processing it, there's no point to the rest of anything. As you process the story, you need both empathy and mental imagery towards what you're being told. With empathy, you're able to understand how a character is feeling and see the world through their perspective. With mental imagery, you generate images in your head of the story, which allows you to experience it with mental images. And lastly, when you have steps 1 and 2 down, you're able to lose yourself in the story. You're transported by the narrative, hence the name, narrative transportation. Narrative transportation explains why people like movies, even if the actual format of movies doesn't reflect our normal lives. So now that we understand that people like stories, how our brains process stories, and narrative transportation, why do people like movies? Part 4, why people like movies. Movies don't exactly reflect how we live our daily lives. But humans love stories. We have always loved stories, and we will continue to love stories. At the end of the day, movies are just one way of communicating a story, but they're currently the most efficient and immersive way to tell a story on a mass scale. Narrative transportation is a psychological thing, right? We need to have empathy and have the ability to create visual imagery to be able to process a story. Movies very easily allow empathy, as we can see what a character is feeling, and visual imagery can be very easily produced when we're looking looking at a visual image on screen. That and movies are interesting to us. Shifting camera angles keep us engaged. Music and sound design heightens what we're feeling on the inside. Humans don't love movies because it reflects how we live our everyday lives. Humans love movies because they reflect how we process stories. Okay, fine. Again, narrative transportation is technically a theory. Okay, but it's the most widely accepted theory. The question is though, will movies always be around? This is odd to think about, but hear me out for a second. Narrative transportation isn't going anywhere. It's how our mind processes stories. But humans have told stories for, as far as we know, at least 30,000 years. Before movies, people were telling stories in a variety of ways. Listening to storytellers, books, looking at paintings on cave walls, and we still tell stories in those same ways today. Maybe not the cave wall part, but like everything else. So humans have told stories for over 30,000 years, but movies are only a little bit over 100 years old. As time goes on, will the movie format of telling stories remain popular? Or will a new format of telling stories emerge that better lends itself to narrative transportation? I don't know what it would be, maybe like virtual reality movies. I don't even know. But we'll just have to see. Real life rules do not always apply in movies. Isn't it weird that we love movie villains but hate real villains? What a specifically odd, seemingly random question, but would you look at that? I have a video about that exact specific subject on my YouTube channel. If you want to know why we love movie villains but hate real villains, click on this video next.